Hello and welcome to today's episode of MANOVAAC, Conversations with Guruji. I, Sirisha.
I'm Chanchal.
And we welcome you on today's conversation. Guruji, the question today, what is this thing called truth that is mentioned in spiritual literature? Who judges right and wrong? And can different people have different interpretation of truth in personal, universal and social issues?
Okay. Yeah, I know. This word truth is referred to in almost every book,
Yes.
spiritual book,
Yes.
philosophical book. Now, here, as far as I'm concerned, there is only one truth which exists. Everything else is a matter of perception. And that one truth is the universal soul, the creator,
Okay.
God, or whatever you call it. I mean, that is truth.
Okay.
Everything that follows from that
Hmm.
is a matter of perception. I mean, the truth can vary, the interpretations of that can vary, right and wrong can be debated upon. There is no one universal criteria of truth, except, as I said, the Supreme. That truth doesn't change. That is eternal. That is the only truth that really matters. Anything else that is written, anything that is conceived, is somebody's interpretation of it, somebody's way of thinking, somebody's own perception, somebody's own experience. That is why very often, when we read spiritual books, you find there is a lot of dichotomy, there's a lot of variation in what one person writes and another person writes, although it may be the same religion or it may be the same topic. Again, this is because truth is not something cast in stone. It is up to the person who experiences it, who thinks about it, who reads about it. You know, at every stage there is going to be some manipulation or some thought or some personal input in it. Even an experience. Even an experience is something personal. So my personal experience may be very different from your personal experience, though outwardly it's the same experience. But the way your mind processes it, the way you understand it, is very different from what another person does.
So perception.
So perception matters. Therefore, other than the Supreme Soul and the Supreme Power, there is no other universal criteria of truth. Everything else is a matter of personal perception and how you perceive it.
And then the beliefs can stem from these perceptions.
And the beliefs can stem from these things. So yes, everyone will write, my truth is the best and I know what is the truth. But it is always a matter of perception.
Yeah.
So when a person realizes the Supreme and merges with that, that energy, that is the only time you will realize what the real truth is. Other than that, in our active consciousness, it can vary from person to person. There is no one person who has a monopoly on truth, you know, or can claim that yeah, whatever I think and I say is the truth and nothing else exists. It's not like that. So therefore, in our social, personal, and intellectual spheres, that is why you have a plethora of different opinions and you have a plethora of different perceptions of the same thing. I mean, the same facts are looked at in different ways.
Right.
Because
So-
each person perceives it differently.
Differently. So in this plethora of perceptions of truth, I mean, to navigate through this is...
Well, you have to find your own, In that sense, you have to find your own. But as I said, ultimately, only when you realize God do you know what truth is. Till then, it is always a matter of perception.
Right. Thank you, Guruji. So, Guruji, I have a question here. So, when we evolve, the truth changes, right?
Of course it changes.
Because the perception changes.
Because
probably.
perceptions will change.
So then how do we believe? I mean, it's again, we believe what we perceive, right? So,
So
where
you
is
believe
the
what you
answer?
perceive at that point of time.
Yeah, but is there a correct answer as such? I mean,
No. Now this
No.
this is where human.
so it's all open.
It's all open. This is the human failing because we believe that what this person says is absolute. I mean, there can't be anything other than that.
Right.
No, it's never like that. It's never like that. Each person's truth will differ,
And each one's is a truth.
and each one may be in its own way.
It's a truth.
It may be applicable. It may be the truth. It may be relevant, I would say. So you cannot, and that is why you have so much of discord even amongst spiritual and religious people.
Right.
You see, they're always fighting over something or the
Right.
other. There's so many different opinions. Because for them, their truth is the ultimate. But it's never like that. No truth is ultimate except when you merge with divinity.
So there's no right or wrong.
There's no right or wrong. And one person's right is another person's wrong. It's always like that. Because the perception changes. So what I believe with this is absolute. The other person might not, and they might just say that no. They'll counter everything and say no. It is not right, or it is not the way we think, or not the way we believe, or not the way we perceive things. And they are right in that also.
So that is why as the society evolves, as the humans evolve, the perception of right also changes.
Yeah, right
Maybe
and wrong
because of
changes,
right
of
and
course.
wrong changes.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
what was right few decades back
We
may not be right now, because
and what was
humanity
wrong a
has
few this thing may not be wrong now.
because
Of
the
course,
humanity
it always
has
keeps changing. It always keeps. Therefore, there is no permanent a definition of truth. Even in your religious books, in your spiritual books, there is no permanent definition of truth. Truth is what you realize ultimately when you merge with God. That is all.
Maybe that's why it's important to have a guru in your life, so that you
To
don't
know
get
the
lost in
difference,
this, very different perceptions.
Sure.
Guruji, another question. Why have saints and gurus not explained in detail about the astral world or death and post-death experiences?
Yes. Not too many have explained that. Some have. But again, maybe not in such depth. One of the reasons is that it's very difficult to prove what you're saying or to convince a person what you're saying. Because what these sages and saints know is through their perception of astral world.
Okay.
Okay, because when you die, you go to the astral world. So they have a perception of it, they have a knowledge of it, which they get when they are enlightened, or even when they travel astrally. They know exactly what that realm or that dimension is about.
Okay.
Now, I may say everything about it, but if you say, how the hell do you know it? And can you prove even 1% of it? I'll say, I'm sorry, I can't.
Right.
So, what happens is that people are not probably ready to believe that. Because you cannot substantiate anything of the astral world. You cannot get any concrete proof. So, a lot of very highly evolved sages and saints don't bother to talk about it because they can't substantiate it, they can't make you believe it, they can't give you a proper scientific basis for it. Though it has a scientific basis, but that science is different from our science. We've not discovered that.
Right.
So when that is not there, they don't generally talk about it.
Because then it'll just become a debate or
it
an
will become a
argument.
debate, argument, and they'll be laughed at, or they can't really substantiate it anyway. So they say,
Yes.
forget it. You learn to live first. Forget about dying and what happens after that. You
Right.
learn to live properly.
Right.
So they teach you more about how to live, rather than what happens after death.
Right.
Instead.
And maybe when some sort of faith or some sort of
Yeah,
understanding comes.
they do tell their very close,
Close.
devotees or disciples about it, or they may not. I mean, because nobody reports back from the astral world. The dead don't kind of write back and say, okay,
Right.
this is what happens and this is what
Right,
it is
right.
like. But there is knowledge about it, and most advanced souls know how it works and what is the spirit world like. But they tend to avoid talking about it in too much detail because they can't really substantiate it. And they don't want to create controversy unnecessarily.
Correct. Yes. Thank you, Guruji.
Guruji, the next question is, does the concept of the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva remain in the astral world? Is it there in the astral world? This question is asked by Nozar Damania.
Okay. This is a very nice question, actually. It's a tricky question. You see, the concept of Trinity, creator, preserver, destroyer, is essentially given to us humans for our understanding of how divinity works and for us to connect to divinity. It is, of course, more prevalent in the Sanatana Dharma, but it's also there in other religions. And this concept is entirely relevant for the physical plane. In the spiritual, in the astral world or in the spirit world, this bifurcation is not there, or it's not perceived by the souls. So when we die, we don't see God as Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, or the creator, preserver, destroyer. There is only one entity, and that is divinity. So their perception of divinity is very different from our physical perception of divinity. For them, one entity, God, creator, preserver, destroyer, all in one, is the supreme. They don't cut it into three pieces, they don't bifurcate it. Now, this bifurcation is done for our purpose, for human purpose, for human perception.
Isn't it easy to understand as one?
No.
Why do we have this bifurcation?
See, the bifurcation
for humans also,
is,
it's not complete.
I'll tell you why. The bifurcation is done for functionality. So there is a bifurcation, though it's the same energy, the same creator who has just
Different
branched
forms of
into
energy.
into three functional forms. That is all. So, but the three functional forms are required for the physical plane, not for the astral plane. The astral plane does not require that bifurcation. Now, this could be a little controversial, but I know because my guru tells me, so I know this, that the astral plane is ruled by Vishnu. So Vishnu is the prime energy of the astral world. Okay. And not to say that he's the only energy. There are other big energies over there, but he's the prime energy. So when probably people refer to the one entity in the astral world, it is this what we call the preserver aspect. So that is what is seen over there as the divine manifestation in the astral world. But no, in the spirit world you don't have these three different concepts, or you don't worship the three. Now Shiva is more associated with the physical world. I mean, he oversees more of the physical planet and our well-being. More than the activity in the astral.
So does
So-
that mean that we pray to Shiva or Vishnu?
No, we can pray to all of them.
No, in a sense, for handling different aspects of
We
our
do,
life.
we do.
Right, for certain things we pray
Yes.
to Shiva, for
Yes.
certain things we pray to Vishnu.
Yes,
So that
yes.
is why the bifurcation for us is
Yes,
that you
yes.
worship that form of energy.
Form which is
Ultimately, it is the
ultimately
divinity.
it is divinity, but we pray to the form that is responsible for
For
that kind of a issue or that
issue.
problem.
So
Yeah.
we invoke that
That
form of the
form
energy.
correct.
So
correct.
just for that, the bifurcation
Bifurcation
is
is
given, so
done,
that
and
that
for us to easily
concentrated.
understand how divinity works.
Yeah.
You know, but there is really no difference. I mean, it's just functional bifurcation.
So it's not that if you just pray to divinity for any issue in your life, it will still be heard and the
Sure.
work will still happen.
It will.
Yeah.
100%.
But I think as humans compartmentalizing it and
But humans like to compartmentalize.
Yes.
They understand things better when
Better.
they are compartmentalized
Yeah.
and very
It's a
precisely.
concentrated effort.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And when you're given a
Focused.
focused role,
Right.
you understand better. Because otherwise, to understand divinity is very difficult.
And probably that is why further bifurcations of other forms like Ganesha, Vignaharta, like
Yeah,
that.
but then those entities are there and they do
Yes.
perform because they're, you see, you need a lot of divine energies and forms to run this whole planet.
And they have
And
their role.
so many, and they each have their role. Each have their role.
So you invoke the one you
So
need
you
at that
invoke the
time.
one that you feel is appropriate for your kind of issue.
Situation.
Sure.
Fine. So the next question is from Meha Saxena.
Yeah.
Is stagnancy also a phase that a sadhak has to face? A period where nothing good or bad happens, like a pause in life. Is this a phase that many spiritual seekers go through?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, stagnancy does come in the life of a sadhak. Because spiritual sadhana is not something exciting. It's not like where everything new happens every day,
Right.
or it's not throbbing with
Adventure or
or
any
excitement.
adrenaline.
Yeah. So over a period of time, stagnancy does set in, and this is probably what prevents a lot of people from going ahead and pursuing sadhana. Because sadhana is A, repetitive, B, boring, C, done mostly in isolation, though you can do it in groups, but at some point you require the isolation. And at times, without a guru, you could be chasing your tail. You could be doing the same thing without really progressing. So yes, stagnation is a big problem for all sadhaks. And sometimes you come to a point where you just feel you're not moving ahead at all, no matter what you do. But you've got to get over this stage. And once you get over this stage, and particularly if you have a guru who's guiding you on the further
Path.
steps in the path, then I think that's the period of stagnation is not that long or that tedious.
Okay.
But under no circumstances can you think that sadhana is entertaining. It isn't, and will never be. It is very repetitive, and it is in that repetition that the purification takes place. Because you cannot, you cannot have somebody devise sadhana every day, something new for
Right.
you to be entertained with. It is doing the same thing over and over again. And sometimes in isolation, which makes it even more tedious. That is why very few people can do tapas.
Right.
Because that is intense sadhana in isolation, doing the same thing day in and day out for months or maybe years sometimes. And that requires tremendous mental strength. And a very different dedication, a very different outlook, a very different personality to do something like that. I mean, you have to be so determined That no, come what may, I'm going to finish this, I'm going to do it. Because human beings are gregarious in nature. We want variation, we
Excitement.
want excitement.
And
Yeah,
also
there's
I
nothing
feel-
wrong with it.
Yeah, I feel, Guruji, I think we sometimes find it boring not because sadhana, of course, is repetitive, but because we have a guru, everything is settled in life. We are able to cope up with whatever things are happening, or guru is taking care at the back end of whatever is happening in the life. So life is going so smooth that we feel stagnated. That nothing exciting is happening because everything is settled.
Yeah.
So that may also lead to a feeling that maybe you're stagnated, whereas actually you're
where,
not.
where no ups and downs are taking place. It's a
Yes,
very
because
smooth
ride, and
yeah.
then you feel that it's boring because
Possibly.
because we feel we are progressing only when there are downs and we are trying to come out of it, whereas
Yeah.
maybe we are able to cope up better because of sadhana that we are
A
doing.
lot of
and
times,
guru.
yes. A lot of times you are, once you do enough sadhana and you're guided well, a lot of the spikes in life are evened out. So
Right.
there are no very high highs and there are definitely not very low lows. So yes, your life becomes a very smooth ride.
Stable, and that may feel
and
like
that may
it's-
feel like a stagnation. Correct?
Yes.
You're absolutely right.
So, but the sadhana has to be repetitive, and
It
it is
is.
working.
It is working. It
Yes.
is working. It's not
We
that
should have that faith that it is
Yes.
working,
You
and
have
it
to have the
has to
faith
continue.
to persist
Right.
and persevere.
And that's our test, maybe.
And that is your test, of course, because there's this Shraddha and Saburi.
Right.
So you need faith and patience. You can't go ahead without that. So that's hugely and wholly applicable in on the spiritual path. Because you can't expect fireworks every few days or something like that. That's not happening. Yeah. But let me tell you, at the end of the sadhana, at the end of your journey, yes, the rewards are so satisfying. And then you look back and say, oh my God, all this was worth it.
Yeah.
What you achieve ultimately.
The change
makes
that
the
is.
change, the
rewards of-
rewards of that.
When you see
sadhana.
the fruits and when you see the
Then
change in your life.
Then you realize, and not only that, the very progress, when you realize that you've come to that level of progress, a very different level of progress, then you look back and say, oh my God, I mean, this was really worth it. Till
We
then,
already see that with you, Guruji. I'm sure there's
there's only a question
long
of
way
me,
to
but-
go, but when we look back, and even when we felt stagnated, like what the question is, when we look back, we know that we were not stagnated
not
and we
stagnant.
were progressing.
You were moving ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, but it just seems that way.
Yes.
It's like when you're traveling in a train, when you look inside the compartment, you feel you're stationary. When you
Right.
look outside, you
It's
feel
moving.
It's like that. So you are always progressing when you do sadhana. But it just seems sometimes that you stagnate because it's boring.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you, Guruji.
Okay.
Thank you for watching. See you next time.